Alright guys, I am back yet again with another deck profile from Cardfight Vanguard Dear Days on Nintendo Switch. This time we got version 1 of my Lyrical Monasterio Clarissa Earnescorrect deck. So of course version 1 is everything through the first additional card pass, so through Lyrical Booster 3 for this deck. And this deck revolves around getting the 5 differently named Earnescorrect units all out onto your field at the same time. So you can use your aim to be the strongest idol order in order to power up your field and let your Vanguard actually attack into up to 3 different targets at the same time. So a very piece reliant but a very unique deck. So as always, we will be going through the deck real fast and then we'll show it off in one card fight. So starting first with the ride deck, we of course have our grade 0 starter, which is Dignified Wheel Clarissa. So when it's rode upon, if you win second, draw a card. Standard D-Series starter, as always. Next for the grade 1, we have Serious Challenger Clarissa. So her auto ability, when this unit is placed on Vanguard Circle by riding on Dignified Wheel Clarissa, you look at 7 cards from the top of your deck, choose up to 1 grade 1 or less card with Earnescorrect in its card name from among them, reveal it, put it into your hand, shuffle the rest, and put them on the bottom of your deck. So this skill lets you dig through the top 7 to find any of your grade 1 Earnescorrect units to put into your hand. Now, we only have 2 different Earnescorrect units that are grade 1 in the deck. So there is a chance this ability could whiff, actually a pretty decent chance, but it doesn't have any cost, so if you do end up not getting anything out of this, you at least don't waste any resources on it. And then she also has her continuous ability that says during your turn, if you do not have any rear guards, this unit gets power plus 5,000. So just a basic power-up skill for early in the game. Next for our grade 2, we have Accurate Interval Clarissa. So her auto ability, when this unit is placed on Vanguard Circle by riding on Serious Challenger Clarissa, you can Soul Blast 1 to look at 7 cards from the top of your deck, choose up to 1 grade 2 or less card with Earnescorrect in its card name from among them, reveal it, put it into your hand, shuffle the rest, and put them on the bottom of your deck. So again, very similar skill to the grade 1 Clarissas, except this one actually does have a cost associated, costing a Soul Blast 1, but it lets you dig for any grade 2 or lower Earnescorrect. So while it does have the potential of wasting a resource if you do whiff, it's much less likely to whiff than the grade 1 versions, since you have a lot more potential targets to search out with this skill. And then she also has the exact same continuous ability that grade 1 Clarissa has, where she gains 5k during your turn if you don't have any rear guards. So again, just a basic power-up. So then lastly, for our grade 3, we have Earnescorrect Leader Clarissa. So her first auto ability says when this unit is placed on Vanguard Circle by riding on Accurate Interval Clarissa, you can Counterblast 1 to search your deck for up to 1 aim to be the strongest idol, reveal it, put it in your hand, and shuffle your deck. So this ability lets you search out your normal order, guaranteeing you at least 1 copy of it, which your deck's not going to be doing much without that order, so you definitely want to have access to it every turn. And then she also has her second auto ability that says when this unit's attack hits, you draw a card and choose one of your rear guards with Earnescorrect in its card name, and it gets power plus 5,000 until end of turn. So as I mentioned before, the effect of the order actually lets Clarissa attack up into 3 different targets at the same time. So if all 3 of those attacks hit, then this skill can actually get triggered 3 times in 1 turn, letting you draw 3 cards and power up 3 of your units by 5k. Or the same one multiple times if you want. So, very useful skill. The way it works in this game, if you're attacking into multiple targets, your opponent actually has to guard for each one individually. So if they guard their Vanguard, you still could potentially hit into some of their rear guards if they don't guard those as well. So Most of the time, this ability will probably go off once or twice per turn, assuming your opponent actually has some rear guards out for you to hit into. So you should be getting at least 1 or 2 draws and 1 or 2 power-ups out of this per turn, even late game when they're blocking their Vanguard. So very, very good skill. So that is our ride deck. Moving on to the main deck for the grade 3s. First off, we do have our 3 additional copies of Earnescorrect Leader Clarissa for our Persona ride purposes. And of course we do have the LSR with her very nice alternate artwork in her idol outfit. So next for the grade 3s, we have 1 copy of Natural Chirp Melria. So she has an activate ability that says if you have 5 or more units with Earnescorrect in their different card names, you can rest this unit to choose an order card from your drop, put it into your hand, and put this unit on the bottom of your deck. So she basically acts as a 5th copy of your order with extra steps, letting you recycle a copy of it from your drop zone that you already used, which can be helpful, especially if you damage check into some copies of your order and you aren't able to get another copy into your hand outside of the one that you searched off of your Vanguard skill. So having another option to recycle that order is very helpful. So then our last grade 3 is just the normal order, 4 copies of Aim to be the Strongest Idol. So you can play this if you have 5 or more units with Earnescorrect in their different card names. And its effect says until end of turn, all of your units with Earnescorrect in their card names get power plus 5,000. And if your opponent's Vanguard is grade 3 or greater, you choose one of your Earnescorrect Leader Clarissa, and it gets a new continuous ability that says when this unit would attack, you choose 3 of your opponent's Vanguard or rearguard circles, and this unit battles all of the units on the chosen circles. So this is the key card of the deck, giving your Vanguard the ability to attack up to 3 units, also powering up your field. The deck is not going to be doing much, like I said, if you don't have this card, so you definitely want to be activating this every turn as soon as you have the opportunity. Now, it does require your opponent's Vanguard to be at least grade 3 in order for you to get the multi-attack skill. So actually, if you go first on your grade 3 turn, this card won't do anything but give you a power up to your field. So in some cases you might actually want to wait about using that until turn 4 when you can actually get the full effect of the card. But yeah, definitely a vital card to the deck, giving you more opportunities to activate Clarissa's on hit ability, also allowing you to pick apart your opponent's board through attacking 2 of their rearguards while also still hitting into their Vanguard. Now, this card will only work if you do have all 5 of your Earnescorrect units out on the field. There are only 5 different names in this deck for you to have out, so you do have to have 1 copy of each, one of which is of course your Vanguard, so you'll always have her. But you do need to amass the other 4 in order to be able to play this at all. But most of the cards in the deck are dedicated to getting all the pieces that you need together, so you should be able to do that without too much trouble most of the time. So that is all of our grade 3s. Moving on to the grade 2s. First off, we have 4 copies of Earnescorrect member Evelyn. So her auto ability says when this unit is placed on rearguard circle from hand, if your Vanguard is Earnescorrect Leader Clarissa, you can counterblast 1 to search your deck for up to 1 grade 2 or less card with Earnescorrect in its card name and reveal it. And if you do not have a rearguard with the same card name as that card, you call it to an open rearguard circle and shuffle your deck. So this card is very helpful to get all your Earnescorrect pieces together. If you are missing one from your hand, you can just call her and search it out from your deck. She can only search out copies of units that you don't already have on your field, so you can't use it to double up any of your copies. But if you are missing one, you can use her to search it out. Or if you just want to preserve one in your hand for later, you can just call her and search out another copy of it from your deck while the other one remains in your hand. Now, she is 8k base, which is normally pretty low for a grade 2, but with the order, she will be at a 13k base minimum. and you usually want to get Trilby behind her, which we'll go over Trilby when we get to the grade 1s. But Trilby can become quite a big booster for her, so she should be able to still hit pretty large numbers with no problems. So next we have 4 copies of Earnescorrect member Cataline. So her auto ability says when the attack of the Earnescorrect leader Clarissa on your Vanguard circle hits, you can counterblast 1 and discard a card to stand this unit. So she is able to restand herself, giving you a 4th attack. Now she does require your Vanguard's attack to hit, but again, thanks to the order, since Clarissa is going to be attacking into 3 different targets, you only need 1 of those attacks to hit in order for her skill to be triggered. So again, assuming your opponent does have some rear guards out, most of the time Clarissa's attack is going to be hitting at least 1 of them. So most of the time it is a pretty easy condition to meet. In the instances where you are playing against certain decks that can empty out their own field, such as Lukier or Greedon or Tamayura post set 8 or what have you, it could be a little bit more difficult. In that case, Clarissa would have to hit into their Vanguard. But that situation doesn't come up too much, so most of the time she should have plenty of opportunities for her skill to trigger for you to get that 4th attack in. And of course she is another one of the vital Earnescorrect names, so very important card to the deck. So that's all of our grade 2s. Moving on to the grade 1s. First off, we have 3 copies of Earnescorrect supporter Trilby. So her auto ability says when your Vanguard's attack hits, this unit gets power plus 5,000 until end of turn. So again, another one of the Earnescorrect names with a very basic ability, just giving her more power when she does need, since as you can see she does have a 5k base. But again, the order will be giving her 5k, and her ability is not once per turn, so if Clarissa's attack hits into multiple targets, it can potentially trigger her skill up to 3 times. So she can be anywhere from a 10k to a 25k booster on your board. Most of the time, usually Clarissa's attack hits once or twice, like I said, so most of the time she's going to end up being a 15 to 20k booster in most instances. So if you have her out and you do put her behind Evelyn, then you can hit magic numbers with that column. So next we have 3 copies of Earnescorrect supporter Leona. So the last of our Earnescorrect names. And she has an auto ability that says when your other rearguard with Earnescorrect in its card name is retired during your opponent's turn, if this unit is on rearguard circle, you can Soul Blast 1 and discard a card from your hand, and put that retired card into your hand. So a decent protection skill from her. If your opponent has targeted retiring, they can just pick her off before they pick off anybody else and prevent her from being able to stop anything. But if they can only retire like your front row or something, with something like Babsagra's skill or what have you, or if they just attack into one of your front row rearguards, then you can use her skill to return that card from your drop to your hand, letting you recall it the next turn, so you can hold on to all those vital Earnescorrect names, so you can still be able to use your order. So a bit situational and kinda easy for your opponent to work around, at least in some cases, but it still can sometimes be helpful. And of course she is the last vital Earnescorrect name, so you do definitely need her in order to pull off all of your combos. So next up we have 2 copies of Definite Growth Rugina. So her auto ability says at the end of the battle, this unit boosted a unit with Earnescorrect in its card name. If you have a Vanguard with Clarissa in its card name, you can Soul Blast 1 and retire this unit to search your deck for up to 1 grade 3 or less card with Earnescorrect in its card name, reveal it, put it into your hand, and shuffle your deck. So this is a very, very good card. I actually would run more copies of this if I had the space. It lets you search out any Earnescorrect from your deck up to grade 3, so that means you can also use this to search out some of your Persona Ride copies as well. So If you get it early game, it does have to boost a unit with Earnescorrect in its name, and all of the Clarissas before grade 3 don't have Earnescorrect in their name. So if you want to use her before you hit grade 3, you will have to call out another Earnescorrect rearguard and put her behind them in order to get her skill to activate. But after that, you can just easily drop her behind your Vanguard and get her skill for later in the game to search out those Persona Ride copies or extra copies of any of your rear guards. If you're playing against a control deck and you're worried about losing some of them next turn, she can easily fetch another copy to prepare ahead. So very, very good card for the deck. So next we have 2 copies of Clear Shimmer Aura. So her auto ability says when they attack this unit boosted hits, you can retire this unit, search your deck for up to 1 order card, reveal it, put it into your hand, and shuffle your deck. So again, a very useful card, this one letting you search out extra copies of your order. Now she does have to hit in order to trigger the skill, but if you use her early game, most of the time your opponent's not going to be blocking your Vanguard, so you can just pop her behind your Vanguard and most likely get that skill off. Or later in the game, if you pop her behind your grade 3 Clarissa and use her to boost her, then you're going to be attacking into multiple units and only one of those attacks has to hit in order for her skill to trigger. So pretty easy condition to meet and helps you search out those orders to set up for your future turns. So again, a very helpful card in amassing your combo pieces. So our only other grade 1s are of course our Sentinels, so we have 3 copies of Determined Cheerfulness Sarka, just your standard perfect guard. And then of course we have 1 copy of the Blitz Order Elementaria Sanctitude, which you can play without paying the cost if your opponent's Vanguard has triple drive. So that is all of the grade 1s. Moving on to the grade 0s, we do just have our trigger lineup, which is 7 crit, 4 draw, 4 heal, and 1 over. So starting first with the crit triggers, we have 4 copies of Grinning Dragon Scale Ilse, just your vanilla crit. Additionally, we have 3 copies of Precious Tune Edwidge. Your crit with a skill, at the end of the battle it boosted, you can put into your soul and give one of your units plus 2k. It isn't a skill we really use very much. You don't necessarily need much extra soul for this deck. So if you want to replace this with another vanilla crit just for the artwork or whatever, you can feel free to do so. Next for the draws, we have 4 copies of Transparent Snowy Night Baratois. I think I've been pronouncing that Baratoy in previous videos, but I think it's supposed to be Baratois. But anyway, she is your draw with a skill. So if your opponent's Vanguard's grade 3 or greater, get shield plus 5,000. So your 10k shield draw trigger. And then for our heals, we have 4 copies of Sigh of Relief Fabiola. So just your vanilla heal. Of course, as always, if you want to run the effect ones, you can. And then lastly, our 1 over trigger is Greatest Star Esperanza. So her additional effect during this fight, you get, during your turn, all of your rear guards get power plus 10,000. So grants a skill to the player, giving all your rear guards 10k for the rest of the game. Very helpful skill, especially in a deck like this where you're restanding one of your rear guards. So can help make your already pretty big columns that much bigger. So that is the deck, so we will go ahead and have our 1 fight with it. And let's see, we will fight Urara. And we will be going second. Alright, so let's discard one of these crits to ride. And then our starter skill, let us draw. And grade 1 Clarissa will let us check the top 7. And unfortunately, we did not find Trilby or Leona. So we don't get any cards into our hand. However, we can go ahead and call Trilby. And we will call Regina behind her. And then we can attack with the Vanguard first. So Trilby's skill will activate, giving her an extra 5k since our Vanguard's attack hit. And then we can attack with Trilby, boosted by Regina. And she gets a crit that is wasted. And now Regina's skill activate, letting us Soul Blast and retire her. And now we can search out an Earnescorrect from our deck, which we've already got Catalin, Evelyn, and Leona now into our hand, thanks to that drive check. So we will add a copy of Clarissa to our hand to ensure our Persona ride later. And we will let that through. And we'll let that through too. There goes one of our orders. Alright, so let's discard that heal to ride. And grade 2 Clarissa skill. We'll Soul Blast. And check the top 7. And we did find 3 different Earnescorrect units this time. So we will add Evelyn to our hand. So let's see, we will go ahead and call Catalin. And then we will attack with the Vanguard first. We got another Evelyn. So that'll trigger Trilby's skill again to gain 5k. So now she can attack into the Vanguard. She lets that through too. So then we'll attack with Catalin. And she lets that through as well, wow. And she wastes another crit. So we got her to 5 damage before she even hit grade 3. So Leonor's skill will let her boost with her entire back row. So this is going to be a very big attack. that also has triple drive. So we will let that one through. She gets a front trigger. And another front trigger. So both of these are going to be pretty big as well, thanks to those double fronts. So we'll let that one through. And we get a draw trigger, nice. And I think I'm gonna have to let that one through too, actually. Alright, so let's drop one of these Evelyns. To ride Earnescorrect leader Clarissa. So now we can counterblast and search out a copy of our normal order. So let's see, we will go ahead and move Trilby back and call Evelyn from her hand and use her skill to counterblast. And we will search out Leona from our deck and Superior call her behind Catalin. So we have amassed all 5 of our Earnescorrect units onto the field. So we can go ahead and play Aim to be the strongest idol, which powers up all of our units and gives Clarissa her multi-attack ability. So with that, I think we are ready to go. So we will go ahead and attack with Catalin first. And we're gonna not boost, actually. So then we can attack with Clarissa, and we can choose 3 targets to attack into. So we'll attack her intercept. We'll do both our intercepts, actually. And of course her Vanguard. And she guards the Vanguard for 2 to pass. There's a draw trigger. So I'm not gonna risk it. I'm gonna give that power to Evelyn. And yeah, no trigger. So Clarissa's attack hit twice. So we just triggered a bunch of abilities 2 times each. So we will resolve Trilby's first to have her gain 5k. And resolve it one more time to bring her up to 20. So then we can resolve Clarissa's ability, letting us draw and give 5k to 1 unit. So we will give that power to Catalin and resolve Clarissa's ability again. Letting us draw once more, and we'll give that power to Catalin as well. And then we can resolve her ability to counterblast and discard 1. So let's see, we will discard, and we'll drop that draw, I guess. So Catalan restands, and her ability triggered twice, but there's no need to resolve it again since she's already standing. So we took out 2 of our rear guards, and now we will attack with Catalan yet again. And she perfect guards. So then we can attack with Evelyn for 43,000. Oh, and she perfect guarded again. Well, she managed to survive, but she's only got 1 card in her hand. And 2 open slots on her field. So she might not be able to do much. She did not get her Persona ride. So she's giving up on Leonorn's boosting ability and just going for the 3 attacks. So let's see, we will guard that with Leona. And we will go ahead and perfect guard that with Sanctitude. So we'll drop that crit, I guess. She gets a heal trigger, which she does get. Now Diantha will actually be able to hit something. So we'll guard that with Fabiola. Alright, so now we can Persona Ride. Which lets us draw into Aura, so we'll go ahead and call her behind the Vanguard. Which we might be able to finish her off this turn, but just in case, we have the potential to get that search. So we'll go ahead and play Aim to be the strongest idol, powering up our Earnescorrect units, and giving Clarissa her multi-attack, of course. So we are good to go, so we will go ahead and attack with Catalan first, not boosted. And she guards. So then we'll attack with Clarissa, boosted by Aura. And again, we can select 3 targets. So we'll just attack into our front row. And she guards our Vanguard for 2 to pass again. So our Vanguard's safe at least. But we get a heal trigger, which we do get. So we will heal 1. And we will give that power to Evelyn. And we still hit into both of our rear guards, triggering all our on-hit skills twice again. So resolve Trilby's for plus 5k. Resolve Trilby's again for plus 5k. We'll go ahead and resolve Auras to retire her. And search out the last copy of our normal order from our deck. So then we'll resolve Clarissa's. To draw and give power to Catalan. Resolve Clarissa's again. To draw, and again we will give power to Catalan. And then activate Catalin skill, Counter Blast, and discard to restand. And we don't need to activate that again. So we got 2 attacks, both of which need to hit, but she's only got 1 card in her hand. So we will attack with Evelyn for a whopping 53,000. And no trigger on that. So we'll attack with Catalin for 48,000. And she's got to let it through. And we got her with that one, alright. So there you go, that was my Earnescorrect Clarissa deck. It is a very fun deck, I do like it quite a bit, even though it does have the tendency to brick every now and then if you don't get all your pieces. But it is a very fun deck when you can pull off your combos. So I will be back soon with more deck profiles. I believe next up I'll be doing my Nordlinger deck. So until then, I guess that's all for this video. So lots of luck to you and yours.